the Swedish people and the Swedes and the Japanese people share the similar personality, the characteristic that is the humbleness and or shyness, I may say. So by humbleness or shyness, I mean try to listen to others and try to understand others before expressing one's own ideas. And that is, I'm not saying this is better or worse than other personalities existing around the world. I just saying we Japanese and the Swedish people share this personality that I realized. And this, I was surprised because before coming to Sweden, I was expecting that, you know, that this Nordic country is total foreign country for me, and there will be no kind of similar cultures or personalities between Sweden and Japan. I mean, apart from, you know, the Asian country and the European country, but I was surprised that how comfortable I feel by interacting with Swedish people, maybe because of these similar personalities. So I really appreciate that.
A few things come to mind. The first thing is the convenience of Swish. If you are Swedish, then you know Swish, and if you're not Swedish, then maybe you don't. But it's a money transfer app that's linked to your every Swede has it, and it's used very commonly by you can use it in stores, you can use it in shops on the street. But it's very secure, it's very easy, it's universal, it's just very convenient. And it's shocking, it's so much easier to use an app on your phone to pay for things than it is to pay in cash. So that was pretty surprising to me. It's something that I'll actually miss quite a bit about Sweden. Another thing is being part of the university, I've gotten to know quite a few PhD students here. And it's really been a pleasant surprise just how high their quality of life is. In the US, which is where I'm from, the PhD students sort of scrape by doing their research and and trying to make a living and survive in the cities that they live in. But it's not exactly a high quality of life, whereas the PhDs at least at Uppsala University, they can take vacation times, they have real workers' rights. And I think that's just that's affording university researchers a higher quality of life, befitting, I think, the sort of work that they do. And it's a statement that Sweden as a society sees these people and their work as being very valuable.
I think one thing that definitely surprised me is some of the deep-seatedness of inequalities here in Sweden. I think Sweden definitely prides itself on its image, Sverigebilden, and I think coming here was really interesting to see what society is really like. And of course, unfortunately, the global pandemic has highlighted some of those inequalities. For example, groups such as the elderly, groups such as people not born in Sweden, groups such as people at risk as well. I think it's been really tough for a lot of people for these last couple of years, being at risk or having to sort of fear for their safety. And so for a lot of people, I think it's been really difficult having to stay at home and try and make the most of that situation. So I know that Rotary does a lot of incredible work abroad, and it's often thought of the kinds of work that you do in other continents like Africa and Asia. But I think something that definitely surprised me was the extent of the inequalities here. And I think it would be really positive for people to continue to sort of critically evaluate how we treat each other at home. And I know that there's been some really great work in this space as well, in racial justice, for example, and that's really, really positive to see in Sweden. So I think that's definitely something that surprised me, but there's also a lot of room for growth and positive progress in that space.
Another thing I want to mention is because my fellowship experience here is in the time of COVID, and how I think the difference of Swedish government to respond to COVID also opened my eyes in some ways, and in particular, comparing the responses here to other Nordic countries, because for people like me who are coming from outside, we like to think about the Nordic countries as a whole. Like it's very similar culturally, social, economically, but I think the governmental level responses to COVID actually changed this conception. I think there is a fundamental difference, I would say, coming from the historical background between Sweden and other like Denmark, Norway, and Finland. So I think that's also something kind of surprised me. And I think that is also based on my unique experience, like time frame here. So I think that probably are the two biggest things I want to mention in terms of how, my general impressions about Sweden and the Swedish people.
There's just a few quirky things that I always think about when I think of Swedes. One of them is the different sounds you guys make when you speak. For example, there is the like the gasp. And a lot of times Swedes won't recognize that they do it, but it's like if you're saying something and they're like agreeing with you or acknowledging what you're saying, there's like this little, and at first when I heard it, I was shocked. I was like, is she okay? Like, I really didn't know what was going on. It was my host mom actually, who I noticed it from, Anita, and she does it a lot. And then I realized other Swedes were doing it. I was like, oh, this isn't just an Anita thing. This must be like a cultural thing. Another thing is, you guys do not everyone, I think this is more of a northern Swede thing, the like is it the sound? Yes, something I also have enjoyed a lot. So a lot of different sounds. I also was shocked by the Stockholm, like the like high society Stockholm accent. I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about. It's like really nasally. I remember hearing that for the first time. Gosh, there's a lot to talk about. I was also surprised at how hard it is to really befriend a Swede. I learned that actually Sweden is one of the hardest countries for internationals to come to make friends with Swedes, due to just being, I don't know if it's shy, just culturally. It becomes, I have Swedish friends. I feel very lucky. I actually have a few Swedish friends. And so I talk to them about this a lot, and they're like, yes, that's absolutely true. And they said, though, if you do become real friends, and you're friends for life. So it's good to know. If you can make it in, then you got one who will go to the grave with you. So I was like, okay. Yeah, and you guys are very proud people. I mean, Sweden, this didn't necessarily surprise me, but Sweden's a beautiful country. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of Colorado, where I'm from in the United States. People love to be outdoors. People are really active. They really appreciate and are proud of their land and their country. And there's a lot of reasons to be proud. I think there's a lot of things that I've come to really love about Sweden. So
and that thing is silence, basically the kind of silence that I experience here. So it was the first day, my first night here in Sweden. So my host mom Catherine picked me up, and that day when I reached inside my room, the room that she had set up for me, it was so quiet. It was so quiet, like I could hear my ear ringing. And it was very new to me, because I come from kind of a part of world where people are mostly very chatty and loud, so especially my family, like my mom is kind of loud, so I always have some sort of noise. But it was so quiet, and that was very strange to me, very strange feeling for me. And besides that, it's also, I guess, like lot less number of people in the streets, because again, I live in Kathmandu and it's quite crowded, and but fortunately I don't like crowded places, so this was a pleasant surprise for me. So yeah, the kind of few people and a sparse settlement, and like a lot of nature, that's another thing, the trees and forest and, greenery, parks. So this was like very nice environment for me. I really enjoy this kind of, environment and neighborhood. So yeah, I love that. That was a pleasant side of surprise for me. So yeah, these were the things. And another thing about Swedes, so I have realized, and I guess many people have talked about this. So Swedes are basically, I guess, more the eye contact. When it comes to eye contact, they are like a little bit, even in during our lectures, I kind of felt that, the eye contact is not that much. So which I can relate as a socially awkward person myself. So yeah, that was another thing. And definitely winter here was very not good. Surprise, very dark.
Oh boy, a couple of things that surprised me. Well, I had heard that Swedes were very quiet and reserved. And while in some cases that was true, I've actually found everyone I've met to be very warm and friendly and kind, and very eager to talk and share their experiences and their knowledge about Sweden. So that's been a wonderful surprise. I was a little bit nervous when I first came here about making friends, but everyone that I've met has been truly very open and wonderful. I was also surprised that the public transportation costs money. There's this rumor around the world that it's free, but then I learned that it costs money.
I think I didn't realize just how large Sweden was, geographically speaking. I mean, obviously I've looked at the map before, but being on, the 15-hour train ride north to Kiruna, that's a long way, and you sometimes think of European countries as somewhat small and densely populated, and Sweden is maybe an exception. And maybe I knew that, but I didn't really internalize how big this country is and how sparsely populated it is north of Uppsala.
And that actually, the geography was a bit of a comfort. I grew up in a rural area, and it's nice to feel close to that. It's nice to know that you can be in space pretty soon. And that's what I'm used to. So I felt rather comfortable here in Sweden. I like that I can go in the forest if I want to. I can get out of